if I start earlier? What happens then? Because everyone expects me to start later. And people are already typing their criticisms, waiting to tell me what's what. So what if, instead, I have decided to start earlier? Huh? What are you going to do then? Probably nothing. You ain't going to do shit, chat. Ain't going to do shit. And before everyone leaves, and then I start crying. But yeah, we got some interesting topics to cover today. We're going to be discussing Greta Thunberg. I do see people, and this is, again, it's a way of thinking that I believe it's incorrect. And it's the idea that, well, I don't go on Twitter, or, well, you shouldn't go on Twitter, and then it doesn't affect you. The problem with Twitter isn't the fact that people exist. Like, there's other places that exist and genuinely do not affect me. I mean, there's so many leftist Discord servers out there, and they talk, you know, but, like, it doesn't affect me. I'm not there. The problem with Twitter is that the important people are there. You have politicians, you have opinion influencers, you have CEOs, you got, like, all these important people, and they self-radicalize. Like they share opinions and ideas that are harmful to me, they're harmful to you, and then they use the mainstream media, their outlets. Like, for example, a journalist from The Guardian uses Twitter, radicalizes herself on Twitter, and then uses the publication that are connected to millions of normies in order to influence how normies think. And I believe that that is definitely the problem with Twitter. It's not the fact that, oh, well, you're there or you're not there. Yeah, I am early. Speaking of which, also on Twitter, apparently Elon Musk did AntiSemitism. Did you guys catch that? Right, so he didn't even tweet this out. It was someone else that tweeted, but it's muy problematica. He basically stated, sorry, there was a person, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the tweet, but the person said something in the lines of, the reason you have so many anti-Semites right now, and people aren't siding with Israel, is due to the fact of woke ideology. Like, woke ideology teaches you about decolonializing, which is what people at these protests are chanting. They're against capitalism, which we're going to see what Greta Thunberg has to say about that, right? They're against, I would say, like, white people and the cultures that, not necessarily like the cultures, the economic system where most white countries are, which is capitalism. They don't like that. They don't like white privilege. And then you have, like, these protesters going around and talking about decolonializing Israel, right? It's, you know, the problem. The problem is woke ideology. That is the problem. So because Elon Musk responded to that, it freaked out it freaked out leftists, and everyone wants to cancel him now. And it's not like they genuinely give a shit about that tweet, because I don't think they do. But what they care about is that they hate Elon Musk for not amplifying their message and subverting their opposition's message. So they want him gone. You know, they want Twitter to be like in the old day. And they're just waiting for a reason. So now when you have anti-Semitism at record highs on TikTok, TikTok is fine. Like, no one even cares about it. No one even talks about it. No one brings it up. Right? Like, TikTok is fine. And if you didn't know, what's going on TikTok right now is atrocious. Like, you have the letter from Osama, which existed for the public for the last 20 years. And thank you, American Outlier, for giving memberships. This letter existed in the public for 20 years now. Everyone could have read it, right? Like, and most people who have read it were disgusted by it. Like there is no justification for targeting innocent people. None whatsoever, right? Like, when Israel does it to Gaza, people are horrified by it. When Hamas does it to Israel, people are horrified by it. Because we both agree, like everyone should agree at least, that targeting civilians is not okay. Even when we look back at history and we look at World War II, we're saying, yeah, like, you know, the attacks on London, horrible. The attacks on Dresden, yeah, the Allies went too far. Like, attacking civilians is usually an immoral thing to do. So, there is no justification for it. But Now that you have the new generation, the Zoomers reading it, and they're seeing the words being framed in a way that they've been taught in universities to look at the world through oppressor, oppressed, colonizing, blah blah blah. They're like, oh my god, this blew my mind, buh. And the media doesn't put attention to that, right? Like, you literally have a social media outlet owned by a foreign state, which is China, and that shit is happening on their platform. And to be honest, it's not even that surprising. Like, if you watch Hassan Piker, you know that he got banned from Twitch literally for saying that America deserved 9/11. That's why he said that's what he got banned for. And people were a little bit horrified. But now you realize that, well, actually, that way of thinking is quite predominant among Twitch circles as well. So, like, leftist Twitch streamers, they have that mentality. And you don't get banned for it, by the way. Unless you outright stated it. But, like, if you imply it, if you're basically talking about it in a way that, like, people kind of get what you're talking about, then it's fine. But if I go on Twitch and I start talking about libertarianism, if I start talking about, maybe the government shouldn't tax us too much, I do not like the way that they handle the environment policies, blah, 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 oh, then immediately I get yitted. Hi V, I hope your day is going well. Learning D&D. Well, that's great, actually. D&D is fun, especially if you have people to play with. D&D was actually really fun, I think, when you could play it in real life face-to-face. But unfortunately, I never got to do that when I was a kid. I didn't even know about D&D back then. However, I would think that right now, if I played D&D face-to-face, it would be cringe as fuck. Yeah, lots of Zoomers got Hassan pilled. Pretty much. But like, think about it this way. How can you run a nation when people think like this? Like, if people genuinely think that the nation state is evil, like, you're thinking that it's systemically racist, right? You think that America is oppressing American outlier. I'm like, well, why would I support such a country? Why would I support? And it's gotten to the point where right-wingers don't want to support it, right? Because right-wingers feel that they're being targeted, and in a way, when you have, like, all of these government mandates and things, like when you look at the infrastructure bill was discriminating based on race. They were prioritizing minorities and other people for rebuilding stuff. So they weren't outright saying it, but, like, if you're a white cisgender man, you were, like, at the bottom of the poll. So basically, why would those people support the government when the government discriminates based on race? And when they say it's like, well, it's equity. So reparations, like, all of these are targeting a specific group of people. Like, if I go to America, right, as a white person, I would be discriminated by the Democrats. Even though my ancestors never oppressed anyone in the United States, my ancestors never colonized anyone, but just because I look white, well, therefore. And it's the same thing, like, if you're a black person going into the United States, right? So if you're from Niger and you travel to the US, all of a sudden they will say, oh, well, you're a descendant of people that were oppressed. And it's like, well, hold on, like, he actually comes from a different place. Like, but no, it's like flat out racism. It has no basis in reality or anything like that. They genuinely just eyeball it. It's like, what is your skin color? So of course, the people that feel discriminated, they're not going to be very passionate about defending their country or fighting for whatever causes that the government believes in. And people on the left won't do it either because they believe that the country is systemically racist and oppressive. So you now created a complete problem, right? You've created a disconnect between the politicians that are like, yes, Israel is our greatest ally, we need to support Israel, and then the population, which is either, I don't want my taxpayer money going to foreign wars, or is, like, literally in support of Palestine. And what do you do then? Last poll that I checked, it was like over 50% of the Democrats. They're either for Palestine or they do not want to support American intervention. And that's the left, right? That's Democrats. Because on the right, I think it's even worse. How are they going to tackle this problem? I have no idea. Do they even want to tackle it? I don't know. What I did see is that the new recruitment ad for the US military lacked diversity. I was a little bit concerned about that. I was like, okay, so things are going really bad. If you go from ads on the military, I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was a cartoon ad, Yes, like an ad for the military that was done with cartoons. It wasn't CalArt style, so it was actually like talented cartoons, but still. And it was about two lesbian women. And they had a daughter, and the daughter was supporting her moms, and she was talking about civil rights and shit. And I'm like, okay, but like, what does this have to do with the military? Like, you're going to potentially kill people when you join the military. That's the cold hard reality of it, right? Like, that is the truth. Like, if you join the military, you can be drafted into a foreign place in a combat zone, and you may have to take someone else's life in order to defend your country. Right? So when you have military ads, you should show people driving tanks, firing weapons, doing intensive training in order to prepare mentally the recruit that you may actually experience combat. And you also want to target that demographic, right? Like, you want to target the people, usually, like, the best soldiers, by the way, are people who are men who are angry. It's very simple, right? Like, angry men make the best soldiers. Why? Because you channel their anger to something productive. And you instill discipline on them so that they can behave properly. And many angry men who join the military end up as very productive members of society once they finish their military service. Makes a lot of sense, right? It's like you got this angry person. It's like, why is he angry? He doesn't get no bitches. Okay, well, women like a man in a uniform. And you tell him that, he joins the military, he gets disciplined, is being taught how to behave like a proper man. And when he finishes the service, yes, like, he walks around, everyone is like, thank you for your service, he's disciplined now, he knows how to behave. Speaking of which, the biggest issue that the United States is having right now, is not just the United States, but like many countries in the West, is that they know how to deal with angry men. You send them to the military, right? you know the solution for that. But how do you deal with men that just disconnect from society? Like, that is something that they don't know. Like, what if you have a man that is not interested in women anymore? He wants his anime waifu, he's comfortable sitting at home, maybe he has a job or maybe he doesn't, but, you know, leeches off welfare, potentially, and just wants to sit at home and play video games. He just doesn't care. How do you deal with that? Like, what do you do? There is no solution for it. Japan is actually dealing with that. Like, Japan has an infertility crisis. Specifically due to this. It's like, very difficult to tell a man. It's like, well, why should he become a corporate wage slave? This is why I genuinely think that they went really hard on MGTOW. Like, I haven't seen them going after a different group this hard. Like the MRAs didn't have this happen to them. Right? So the MRAs, when they were popular, they had to experience cancel culture, but not to this degree. However, the men going their own way, oh my god, like they were heavily suppressed, especially on YouTube. And like, all they were advocating for was disengaging. They weren't advocating for action. They weren't no, it was like disengaged, right? Some of them were just like, don't marry. So it's interesting. Like, this confirms what I think, that they're more afraid of men who just want to disconnect. Like, they're not interested in participating in society at all. They just want to sit home and play video games, watch anime. Abdi Muhammad, welcome back. What's up? Abdi, I have another black person in the chat now. I got 2 black people. As far as I know, there may be more. But I got diversity. I wonder if Hassan Piker has a bigger percentage of diversity than I do. I don't think he does. But anyway, right, so they make TikToks for defeat the evil side of history. And ironically, though, like, I was talking to Arch about this, and if you take Mein Kampf and you replace the words, like, instead of Jewish and German, you have like men and women, or you replace it with, you know, white people and minorities, you're going to have a lot of leftists that say, oh my god, it's such a brilliant think piece. There actually was. Like, I have seen leftists on Reddit who read the book and was like, oh, I was shocked. I thought that Hitler was comically evil, but like, some of the things that he had there were against capitalism, and like, that makes sense, because like, capitalism evil. Who else, V? I'm back. Does that make it 3? I don't know my diversity. Are you black? Are you... See, I know that Abdi and American Outlier are black, but I do not know about you, so... You could be lying to me. No, you're not allowed to identify as different races. Only genders. Like, gender is allowed. Race, no. By the way, what did you guys think about Dungeons and Dragons? I thought it was an interesting first session. A little bit upset that the party doesn't want to experience other things besides hitting bad creature in the head with a club, but it is what it is. Didn't James Lindsay do that? Yes, James Lindsay actually did that. So James Lindsay went into the grievance studies and published into a feminist peer review literature Mein Kampf, but he replaced Jewish people with men and German folk with women. It was very well received in the academic environment. It won't do any good, says American Outlier. People of Color Equity Detroit was given federal money for infrastructure during Obama administration. They rebuilt neighborhoods, but one neighborhood in a span of over 10 years is in decay now. Lack of responsibility. I think like the main issue has to start in schooling and disciplining, right? So the main problem in like I've been saying this, but like most people don't understand what I'm saying, or they think that I'm being disingenuous. There is a simple problem for America's most ill wills, right? Like for example, you have a place like Detroit, which is used to be a very prosperous state, and now if you look at it, it looks worse than Romania. The problem is the lack of discipline, right? Like, there is no point having some of the best teachers and brightest minds in the world in schools if the kids don't listen to the teacher. So think about it this way. Imagine a class of unruly kids. Like I seen it in the news a couple of days ago. A young person, right, a youth, a teenager, beat his professor until he managed to hospitalize her over a Nintendo Switch. So she told him to stop playing on the Nintendo Switch, and his reaction was to violently assault the teacher. So my question is, do you think that if you get like the best teachers in the world in that school, in that environment, you get, I don't know, Milton Friedman himself, and you get Thomas Sowell, like you get like the brightest minds to educate those kids, do you think they're going to manage? And the answer is no. They're not going to manage because the mentality is there and the lack of discipline is there. So what do you need to do? Well, we know what needs to be done. Like during World War II, and even before that, there were people made soldiers from convicts, right? So like an actual criminal, like someone who commits crimes, was taken by the government, disciplined, and then made into a person that can follow orders and act in a disciplined manner, in a civilized manner. And once the war was over, many of them actually found productive jobs and opened their own businesses because now they were disciplined. Now, you're not dealing with soldiers, right? You're not dealing with criminals. Like, you're not dealing with people that are the worst of society. No, you're dealing with children, right? Unruly, uneducated children. You're telling me that you can train criminals, but you can't train soldiers? Of course you can. Right? You can train criminals, but you can't train children. Of course you can, right? Kindergarten cop, pretty much, was experiencing the same issue. So you can. The problem is, if you were actually in the United States to try to instill discipline in schools, the same way that the Soviet Union did, the same way that North Korea does, the same way that China does, like places around the world. Like, we're not talking about, places that existed in the past and we look at them, oh my God, what savage societies. No, like, we're talking about today, right? You look at how they're doing stuff in China or how they're doing stuff in North Korea. Not everything in China is evil, by the way. Some things are good. And then when you look at how they're educating young kids, if you apply the same standards in Detroit, I guarantee to you, you will have discipline. And only once you have discipline can you actually educate them and teach them useful skills. But unfortunately, unfortunately, there is no desire to do so. There is no political will. There is no will from the society. There is no will from the culture. So what can you do? Yeah, well, then you're going to have a state like Detroit in perpetuity. The children yearn for the mines. You don't even need to be that radical. Apparently, the children yearn for the gangs, because that's the future, right? Like, if you can't find employment, you don't have any place of business where you can work. You don't have any job opportunities. You don't have any useful skills. That's the future. You're going to join a gang. It's unfortunate, right? And the reason it's unfortunate is because it can be changed. Like, we do have solutions for this problem, but if you were to implement said solutions, people would cry out racismus. People would say it's horrible. I mean, it's even at the point where spanking is not okay. And I discussed this a lot of times, right? Like, most people will say, well, yeah, I mean, spanking a kid. If you look at Dead Poets Society, you saw that back, not even like 100 years ago, back like a couple of years, like 50 years or something, they had ways to discipline the students. But this leads, like, in a society, you do not have, this is my favorite quote from Thomas Sowell. You do not have permanent solutions in a society, you have trade-offs. So you don't want to spank kids. Okay. Right? Like, the advantage, I guess, is that there have been teachers or parents that were abusive and they took spanking, away from a form of punishment that was as a way to educate into a way where they can release their frustration, which in my opinion, yes, that should be illegal. But okay, you don't want spanking. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. So when you have a 9-year-old girl, like this was a case that I talked about on many streams, and it's something that it impressed me, to be honest. Impressed me. It left an impression on me. A negative one. This 9-year-old girl, right, she assaults one of her classmates and then bites the teacher. Now, the teacher can't spank her. They tried to control her. She didn't want to, so they called the cops on her. And now she's got a criminal record. Like, literally, she was placed in a cop car with handcuffs, and she was crying. And I'm like, this wouldn't have been necessary in the Soviet Union. It wouldn't have been necessary under communism either. Like, if I were to have a choice, if I get time back, and I would behave in such a way, if I were to bully one of my classmates and then bite the teacher would smack my ass. That's what would happen. She would give me a spanking in front of the classroom, and then when I get home, I would get another spanking from my parents. And I would never do it again. But apparently that way of education, that the Soviet Union was applying to people is harmful, degrading, against human rights. Okay, so the correct moral solution is call the cops and have the cops escort them. Give the kid a criminal record. Minors don't get criminal records? Okay, then their parents do. Like, someone gets a criminal record. Then the parents do, right? For not educating your kid. Usually the parents are responsible because if my kid, for example, throws a rock in your window and breaks your window or smashes your car, who pays for that? I mean, my kid doesn't have money. No, the parents pay for it, so the parents are responsible. If you are old enough to do something criminal, then you are old enough to be punished for it? I don't think so. I do believe that it is fair to say that up until a certain age, the child doesn't really understand what he is doing, right? And it's the fault of the parents. Because I do believe that parents own their children. Yes, it's not really like owning as in owning property, but it's a different form of relation that I don't know if we have a name for it. It's like being a ward, right? It's your responsibility. And this is due to the fact, this is how Marxists like to assault this type of human relation. They will say that it's like slavery. And you need to liberate the children. I'm not kidding. Like, read some of Engels' writings. And it's also why they believe that children can consent and other nonsense. But the reality is that, no. Like, children belong to their parents. Like, this is why the parent can ground the child and say, well, you don't get to leave your room. Like, technically, that's a violation of human rights. If I were to tell my wife that she's not allowed to leave her room, I know that many people will say based, but the law would say different. The law would say that I'm now a criminal because I have deprived her of her freedom. And it's true. It can be classified as kidnapping, depending on the legislation. But anyway, right, so a parent can do that. Like, a parent can tell the kid that he's not allowed to come out of his room, that he's not allowed to watch TV. Like, you can literally imprison your child in a room, right? And even if he goes to school and he says that mommy grounded me, you're not going to get cops at your door, right? Like, it's still a disciplinary measure that's acceptable even in modern society. So it shows that the relationship between parent and child is different than that of between two adults. Which means that when you give someone power, you also need to give them responsibility. So when the kid does fuck up, well, the adult is responsible. Like, if the kid goes out and throws a rock into someone's window, as kids sometimes do, if they're not educated, then the parent has to pay for the window. I would say it's a caretaker or guardian. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, you can find certain words for it, but it's something that the left, well, not even the left, because not all leftists are like this, but it's more like socialists. If you read, again, like, if you read some socialist thinkers, some thought pieces, that then yeah, if you have those things, then I got a message, so I got a little bit distracted. Yeah, like if you read some of the teachings from socialist talking heads, they literally say that, yeah, it's oppressive to have children in the care of parents. And I remember even Guardian articles, which a lot of people were surprised, but I, as a person who read communist literature, wasn't. They were basically saying that in the name of equality, we should have, like, a lottery, and either, like, have kids being raised by the state, or your kids be taken away and given to a different family. Like, unironically, back in 2016, The Guardian released such an article. Like, it was maddening to read. But basically, like, back then, they were, like, all about equality. Equality is good. Equality, equality, equality. And they were saying that the main reason for inequality is that, for instance, Echo Drift's children, right? Echo Drift, let's say he's a wealthy guy and he's got children. Those children are going to be raised in a wealthy lifestyle. And that creates inequality because my children are going to be grown with my money, so they may be poorer, right? So the solution that The Guardian came up with, which is a British newspaper, Pulitzer winner in 2014, by the way, was to have a lottery, so, like, your kids are being taken away at birth and they're replaced with other children. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. We have to face this. Metakar was right. Metakar was right with what? The thing is, though, I once made a comment that I like Metalcore, and I do. Like, I genuinely like his streams, unironically. He's entertaining, he's funny. Why would I lie? And there's this twat on Twitter, and he keeps trying to start shit. It's like going to other people. It's like, hey, how can you be friends with V when he's pushing his friends under the bus? He's backstabbing people because he likes Metalcore. Like, unironically, I told Sarga that I like Metalcore. Like, this is not a surprise. I mean, I even told Jim that I like Jim. It's not... And I have had conversations with Jim that weren't really pleasant. You know, we on my live stream, we talked, we disagreed on certain things. He started screaming about the skeptics and whatnot. But at the end of the day, you know, I genuinely don't care. That, like, if you're asking me, does he make good entertainment? He does. No, it wasn't Dev. It was like some random guy on Twitter. I don't even know who he is. V, I want your game to make 2 million. There's no fucking way my game will make 2 million. Honestly, I would be happy if my game just makes the same amount of money that I invested in it. Like, if that's the case, then I'm happy. And I'm also talking to Japanese developers to see if we can do some collabs. If I can get some of their characters in my video game, that would be great. I'm already in talks with a couple of them. Let's put it this way. If you're a succubus enthusiast, if you like succubabes, there is a small but existing possibility that if my game does well, it's going to be like the Marvel universe of succubis. Like, you're going to get a lot of ushikushi Japanese succubabe ladies in my video game. It's going to be fun. As DLC. So, yeah. Will I release a remaster after my game 1 year after release? See, I would actually have a reason to do this. And I can even justify why I could release a remaster after 1 year. Most independent game developers have the same issue. When you release the first game, you struggle a lot, and there's a lot of cool things that you want to do, but you don't have money to do it. Like, unironically, there are so many things that I would have in the game right now, but unfortunately, I do not have the funds to do it, so I need to be restrictive. However, after you sell the first game, you start making money. And with that money, you can now make something more ambitious. So, for example, I would have more animations. I would have the entire game voice acted, right? So like, you could use the money from the first game and then make a remaster and sell that. But I would have like some argument. There is no justification for The Last of Us 2 to have a remaster. None whatsoever. Like, it's a AAA studio. It already has money. Right? It never lacked the funds to have the things that it wanted in the first game. There is no explanation. Sorry about this. Someone misheard that I said Succubus Beyblade. I see. Would you kill off the main guy in the sequel? Why do you think I haven't killed it in the first game? Will it only be PC? Yeah, it will only be PC. How much will the game be? $19, I think. And hopefully, I can release it before the Biden administration prints another $1 trillion. So that it completely fucks up the price for video games. But yeah, I think that due to the amount of content that I have in, like, I expect at least 2 hours of cutscenes alone, fully animated. I think $19 is a decent enough price. Incubus representation? No. Jesus. Does my game look like I have a sort of checklist where I need to go into the identity politics? I had 6 unskippable ads before being able to watch the live stream. Are you fucking kidding me? I don't have control over the ads anymore. That would be sad if it's the case. I will just turn off ads for the live stream if that's... But the thing is, like, having the ads open on the live stream, it allows for the algorithm to promote it, so... I have something similar to that in the manga. It's called Cultural Appropriation Draft, where random children, when they turn 10, they are sent to their ethnic origins. Example, Alina is born in the United States but is sent to Russia. That is just... oh my god. That is dystopian as fuck. I'm actually excited to see how you're going to explore that. Yeah, $19 or $200 in 2036. Are the cutscenes skippable? Yes, but they're the reason that most people buy the game, so take that into account. Will I have future Saki? No. At least not yet. Maybe in a DLC. I'll see. Some people like it, some people don't. So a DLC is probably the best thing to do, because then you get to see, you know, people can pick and choose. I just want a demon waifu that has a power struggle with the character And ever so often, a power struggle role for the immediate insanity. Yeah, well, you're going to like the game then. I was thinking about getting a Steam Deck. It will have Steam Deck. Yes, support. Like, if you have Steam Deck, you'll be able to play it. You have Succubi, but no Incubi. Dude, maybe there are, but they're not in the game. Like, maybe there are in the universe. Somewhere out there. Have you heard about Scott Pilgrim's take on the bait and switch? It's actually quite poetic, as Scott Pilgrim is basically the ground zero for all woke bad super. No, I haven't. But it doesn't, like let me tell you something. Again, when you're older, you start to notice trends and patterns. There are certain people that just do what's popular. Like, they legitimately do not care about the truth. They do not care when something is presented to them, if it's correct or not. They just wonder, what would other people think if I support this? And this is why you have, like, a lot of people that were very feminist in 2016, right? Like, they were all for feminismos. And now they're, like, insulting J.K. Rowling and harassing VTubers. It's not that the arguments managed to persuade them or anything like that. It's the simple fact that they do what's popular. And I've been told by a friend of mine, which was at university during communism. He had this economics teacher, which at the time she was one of the biggest rats. As in, ratting people to the Secret Service in the university. Like, if you did anything that was considered not okay by the Communist Party, she would rat on you. And after the Communist Party fell, she started teaching, I think, civil law or civic rights, something like that. And all of a sudden, she was like pro-capitalism, and she was all about human rights. And there's many people like this, right? And it's quite possible that some of the individuals, like Scott Pilgrim and many others that were ground zero for wokeness, now probably hate it because they notice that the pendulum is turning. They're noticing that the culture is shifting. So they're not for it anymore. Yeah, it did ruin an entire generation of entertainment. Unironically, like, you can't say that it didn't, because I'm thinking, like, when I was much younger and I was seeing, The Matrix, I was thinking, wow, like, this is a movie that I can watch 10 years from now. Lord of the Rings. Holy shit, Lord of the Rings. If you watch Lord of the Rings now, it's almost like it came out yesterday. It's a brilliant movie. It's really great. If you play Batman Arkham City, great game. You're going to have fun. My question to you, what movie came out after Avenger Endgame, or what video game came out recently that you can unironically say that in the future you would enjoy playing? Like, you could see yourself with your kid 20, maybe 15 years from now playing or watching that movie together. There are a couple. Like, for example, Resident Evil 2 Remake. Yeah, I can see myself playing that in the future. But other than that, God of War, maybe? Yeah, I can see myself replaying God of War. But it's so sad, isn't it? Wrath of the Righteous. Wrath of the Righteous, great game. Yes, I actually want to replay that. So after I'm finishing Baldur's Gate, I want to replay Wrath of the Righteous, because that is a fucking amazing game. Hello, Aiden Paladin. I haven't played Hogwarts Legacy yet, so... I'm not saying that there aren't any, right? But they are so far and few. And nothing from AAA companies besides Resident Evil 2 Remake. And it's the same thing, they make a good game, they make Resident Evil 2 Remake, and then they fuck it up in the future. Like for example, I really disliked Resident Evil 3 Remake. Man, they did that game dirty. They did that game so dirty. It's not even funny. The Resident Evil 8 or 9, which one is the one with the village? I also didn't like it. The Lady Dimitrescu part and in the beginning was kind of cool, but after that they dropped the ball heavily with it. It was so inferior compared to Resident Evil 7. So yeah, I mean, you get a couple of gems here and there. You know, there's a couple of diamonds in the rough, but that's pretty much it. Sekiro. Sekiro is an old game and it's not Western, right? So Japanese games don't count. The only AAA I played this year is Resident Evil 4 Remake. Resident Evil 4 Remake is the type of game that really didn't need it to be remade. The graphics in Resident Evil 4 stand out today. They didn't add literally anything that I would consider it required to make a new game. I mean, between Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 2 Remake, it's a huge difference. Like, massive improvement in any way, shape, or form. But, like, Resident Evil 4 getting remade? You have Codename Veronica around the corner. You could have remade that. And my fucking god, if they're going to start remaking again like Resident Evil 5 and 6, ugh, fuck off. You know, they also have another franchise with dinosaurs. Do you guys know it? It's called, Wait, let me see. Hold on. I'll show you. Like, this is a game that they should be remaking. But of course they're not going to do it. Capcom Dinosaur game. Dino Crisis, I think it's called. A lot of people don't know because there's many individuals who are probably in the chat but were born after this game came out. Dino Crisis. It's pretty much Resident Evil with dinosaurs. Yeah, it's basically like if you liked Resident Evil 2, it's literally like that, but it's got dinosaurs instead of zombies. Hold on, there's another one here. See, I can understand why this would be remade. Because the graphics don't stand up today, you definitely not have the same sense of enjoyment if you played it, but it would be cool if they made a remake of that. Faster gameplay, yeah. Code Veronica is probably going to get a remake, definitely. Oh yeah, it should be time for an Elden Ring remake, right? Is it that, like, next year probably we're going to get Elden Ring 2 remake? Here's another great game. This one, for some goddamn reason, and I do not understand why, they stopped making it. And Alone in the Dark was so great. But they tried remaking it a couple of times and they just refused. Like, they flat out refused to do it justice. So now it's coming, like they announced it for PS5. This is one of the games that I'm actually hyped off. Whoa. Not on YouTube, okay? I'll get it age restricted if I keep going.
Maybe the dark man just likes it when you suffer.
Have you ever talked to a doctor about your condition?
This is madness! Are you crazy? Fall on your knees, swear the mask, raise his
I grew up with this game, this franchise, I mean. So it looks really cool. Changes the lyrics. I don't know the original lyrics, so yeah. Have you seen the picture of the white kid with a bunch of his black friends wearing the Alone in the Dark t-shirt? No. But yeah, so let me see if I can find the trailer for the original Alone in the Dark. I do not know why they decided to just destroy this franchise. They did it dirty, chat. They did it so dirty. Okay, here we go. Up. We need to go past the commercials. More commercials. I hope this is the last one, chat. Yeah. All right. No. Music. Bad. And I think it was like the whole gameplay. Anyway, if you don't know the franchise, you should look into it. It's really great. There are other games like Turok and The Darkness. The Darkness, from what I understand, and it's such a shame because, my god, The Darkness 2, best shooter that I ever played. Let me see if I can find the, yeah. Like look at this game, chat. This is what I grew up with 11 years ago.
It chose me. Gave me its power. But like everything else, it came with a price.
Jackie, this was not your fault.
And now, it's mine to control.
Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can find an actual trailer that shows gameplay footage. Another walkthrough. Why can't I find... Ah, here we go. I just want to show you how cool games used to be. I mean, most of you probably know. But when you actually see a trailer for a game that came out 12 years ago and you're more hyped than anything that came out in the last 5 years, it speaks volumes. So this is The Darkness, okay? Imagine if this game would come out today and compare it to some of the trailers that you've seen recently.
They say, if you want to judge a man's worth, just take a look at his enemies. I'll be honest, I don't know who they are, but in this instance, they do speak with wisdom. Take a look at Jackie Estacado. This guy's got every mobster in town gunning for his ass, alright? Guess that kind of justifies his brutal thuggishness. This is just the kind of stuff that happens when you're king of shit mountain, you know what I mean? Now, what about that thing inside of Jack? The darkness. Who's its enemy? Well, when you're the embodiment of all evil, everyone's your enemy. And let me tell you, it has KO'd every opponent heaven and earth sent its way.
They don't do that in modern gaming. Like, for instance, violence is okay, but they shy away from this shit for some reason.
Sent its way. Except for one. The Brotherhood. The Brotherhood? It's the great-granddaddy of all secret societies. And they had one mission. Protect the world from the darkness. But there's only so long you can stare into the void before you turn justice black. See, these days, the Brotherhood isn't looking to fight the darkness. They want to control it. Why? Who the hell knows? They're crazy. Pay attention. That's kind of the point I've been getting at. The Brotherhood knows the darkness, its secrets and its weaknesses. Now, that in itself is scary enough, but lately, I've heard rumblings, rumors, whispers.
I want the darkness.
They're saying the Brotherhood's back, and this time they're playing for keeps. It makes a man wonder. Could they have found? No. It's not possible. No. I'm not gonna stand here and tell you that Jackie Estacato's a good guy. He's far from it. That said, even though Jackie may carry the darkness, his soul's still a few shades lighter than these Brotherhood guys. You want to hear something else? He may be the only hope we got.
But why can't we get games like this anymore, chat? You know, even if you don't like it, like I get it. You know, it's not for everyone. Like some people may not like the violence or the fact that it's a first person. You gotta admit the story is different. Like it's a unique story in a unique environment. It doesn't lecture you about politics or anything. It doesn't try to spoon feed you shit. It's not offensive for anyone. If you're a leftist, if you're a right winger, like whatever, you're going to enjoy it. Why don't we get this anymore? We've been naughty, haven't we? Yes. I'm watching this and I'm like comparing to shit like current World of Warcraft Dragonflight cinematic. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that this doesn't have is graphics. People say that it's Prototype plus Infamous. This was actually before Prototype. And it's so cool. Like, the gameplay is my fucking god. You got different enemies that you need to take out in a specific order. Like, for example, the guy with the light, he doesn't do damage. But if he shines the light on you, you lose your special power. So you lose your abilities to use the tentacles and stuff. There's a guy with the whip that literally pulls the weapon out of your hand. So if you have a shotgun or something, he pulls it away. So now you don't have a weapon and you can only use the abilities from the darkness. It's such an interesting game. Unfortunately, it ends with a cliffhanger and they never made the Darkness 3. I think it's due to the fact that the Darkness is copyrighted to DC Comics. And they didn't get along. They didn't manage to cut another deal. But yeah, it's an amazing game. Digital Extreme not going to touch Darkness anymore. I don't know why. Like, I genuinely don't know what happened. Maybe they didn't sell or something, but possibly the game lacked marketing. I have no idea. But it's so upsetting because it was an excellent game from any point of view. Like, gameplay perfect, story was great. Like, it keeps you captivated. The characters are interesting and diverse. The Dishonored game seemed to be a spiritual successor. Dishonored is a spiritual successor to the game Thief. Like, Thief was also a really amazing game. But I generally do not get it. Like, there are a couple of games that, from my personal opinion, they were amazing, and they just stopped making sequels for them. Prince of Persia is one of them. I do not consider that the abomination that they're making now for Prince of Persia is a sequel. It has no prince, and it doesn't take place in Persia. Like, unironically, let me show you in case you don't know. Like, I can tell you that this shit is not going to sell. So, look at this. The idea of making it 2D was great, right? Like, it goes back to its roots. Prince of Persia was initially a 2D game. Making it 2D, perfect choice. However, what is with the fast action? There's no reason to make it fast action. Like, Prince of Persia was a slow, methodical 2D crawler. Why are you giving it, like, all of these bizarre abilities and shit? Why does he have the California look? Of course, when I see... And by the way, every single fucking time in a Western game, I see a man without a shirt and muscular, I know that the women are going to be covered up and made androgynous. It's a given.
The prince has been kidnapped.
Okay, so the prince has been kidnapped. Prince of Persia, the prince has been kidnapped. Then call it the fucking Princess of Persia.
Taken to a forbidden land.
Taken to a forbidden land. So you're literally playing Prince of Persia outside of Persia, and the prince is kidnapped. What a great start. What an amazing thing. Like, why the fuck didn't you make a new game?
All hope rests with
Look at this, man. The men are hot 10 out of 10 husbandos, and the women barely any booba, and they look like this.
us, the immortals, to rescue him and save the empire. But we weren't prepared for what was coming.
Yeah, neither was the audience. The audience was the least prepared. And listen to this, okay? Listen to this shit. Why are you using this music in a game called Prince of Persia?
Then again, they weren't prepared for me.
Like, the part that really pisses me off is that this may not be necessarily a bad game, but why not call it the Immortals? Why are you so not confident about your franchise that you have to leech off the IP Prince of Persia and do a bait and switch? When the prince is kidnapped, takes up place outside of Persia, gameplay has nothing to do with Prince of Persia. Alright, so you got to see this. Right now, let me show you Prince of Persia 2 trailer. And you guys get to tell me, which would you rather play? Oh fuck, I don't think I can show you the thing because it's got Godsmack as the band that plays it. But alright, you know, I'll just show you this. Right, so it starts out, like, this is the trailer. It starts off on a Stormy BC. Shows you the enemies, shows the prince doing cool shit. Look at this. Look how fucking cool it is. It's got heavy metal in the background. But, you know, like, you could choose a better movie, but it fits. Oh my god. Oh, scary. Oh my god, this is horrifying. Twitter is concerned. Holy shit, leftists on Twitter are losing it. Oh my god, it got jiggle physics. No. Actual femininity on the screen. Oh my god, 11 years ago, the dark ages of mankind. The horror, the dread. Can you imagine the society that these games were creating? Oh, the incels. It was like watching porn. This was the Pornhub of 11 years ago. It had an ass. But yeah, no. Look at this game. Look how fucking cool it is. I would still play it now, unironically. And of course, you know, if they were to do a remake, they would remove the ass from the game, obviously. We'll have to tone down the violence a little bit for the kiddies to play. They would have to find, oh, this is very important, an actual Persian to do the voice acting. Like, you can't voice act, right, unless you have the correct ethnicity. If your parents didn't fuck correctly, if you do not have the one drop rule, then you cannot voice act. So yeah, I mean, they would be concerned with trivial shit. That's my point. Like, they would be concerned with trivial stuff rather than being concerned with actually making a good game. And this is probably what happened to the latest Prince of Persia, which apparently they wanted to do a remake, but they canceled it. Let's hope my manga is better than anime and video games. Well, let's hope your manga gets turned into an anime. How about that? Yeah, you need to watch the Prince of Persia trailer with your door locked. Your mother could walk in the room. She might see the ass. When young men were your primary gamer demographic, they still fucking are. Like, here's the thing. There are women that play video games, but let's not pretend that genres don't exist. You know, certain genres that are played by both men and women. Other genres are played by men, and other genres are played by women. There's nothing wrong with it. And the thing is, like, you don't really need to even think about the genre. You're just thinking, like, okay, what would I like to play when you make a video game? Well, at least that's what I do with mine. It's like, what would I like to play? They made no official cancellation. I mean, even if they didn't, I seen the trailer. It looks shit. I would rather have it not come out than come out and be bad, because then they will never remake another. Because the thing with the investors, they're thinking, oh, this game didn't sell, it's probably the brand. It's not, like, look at what they did to Warcraft 3, right? Like, they remade Warcraft 3, didn't sell, oh, it's probably people aren't interested in Warcraft. Women overwhelmingly play puzzle games, and then the ideologues say, oh, look, many women play games as men. Yeah, it's kind of like reading books, right? Like, everyone reads books. But if you look at horror novels, the demographics are there. And it's not just, like, gender, it's age as well. Like, you're not going to have the 65-year-old mother play Prince of Persia. There may be one out there, but, like, generally speaking. Anyway, right, I'll end it here. Thank you guys for watching. Gotta go make the other 2 videos for my main channel. Hopefully I can make the Steam page for my game. But that's also up to other people, not just me. So I'll see you guys in the comment section. Take care.